G'day guys, welcome back to the Fon Supercoach YouTube channel. Today we are reviewing round 16 in which I scored 2,273 points. So one of my better rounds for the year, as we can see with this 14,000 round rank and bringing me up to a season rank of 18,000. So done plenty of climbing over the buys. I always like to assess where I was at the start of the buys versus where I am at the end of the buys. So if we just jump in here, at the conclusion of round 11, I was 45k. Do we have 5 rounds of buys this year? Yeah, we did. Wow. And then, sidetracked. And at the conclusion of round 16, I am down to 18,000. So jumped up 26,000 ranks, which is really nice. Yeah, that's right. So, some terrific scores over the buys, which has been really good as well. So highlighted by 14 and 16, obviously. But yeah, let's get into the team. So starting in defense, this is another week where, to be honest, I didn't watch a heap of footy. I've been really busy recently, and I don't know if anyone else is having this issue with the commentary at the moment. I watch on KO every game, so I get the Fox broadcast, but I find the commentary teams very, very hard to listen to. Almost all of them, I would say. So that has been preventing me from having the desire to watch football as much as I normally would. Combined with the fact that my Supercoach team is going quite poorly. So that is what it is, but that's why I haven't been watching as much. I also had a work function on Friday, so that is why I didn't watch the Giants-Hawks game, but I heard some things about these two, which we'll talk about at the end. I should actually have looked this up before I started, but that's all right. So Whitfield, 119. Terrific. Presumably just playing half back. I don't know where Ash was, as I said. I couldn't watch this game. And then Sicily, 109. Much better score this week. Would have liked a little bit more in a good matchup, but that is what it is. And then Worrell, 115 in the showdown, which I thought was a cracking game for the first half. And then Adelaide just didn't come out after halftime. So, but yeah, Worrell was really good within that game anyway. And then Jordan Clark, I could not believe it. He was getting junk in this game. Sorry, my mic has just gone down. I don't know how the sound is going to be for the first little bit. Hopefully it's not too bad. And I will not be recording, so skip ahead. Won't be re-recording, so please feel free to skip ahead if the sound was bad. Jordan Clark, 119. Excellent scoring. Getting junk, as I was trying to say before my mic went AWOL. But yeah, 119. Like, again, Clark is really good when he's interested in getting the ball. He's just very rarely interested in getting the ball. But yeah, this was a very good result. And then Hawker Hahn, my D6 for the year. We're going to loop with Edwards, but anyway, he was fine. Probably a little bit unders, to be honest. He played quite well, but he's highly uncontested. So his damage with the ball needs to be very high when he has it. And unfortunately, it was not in this game. Will Edwards, 81. Genuinely good player. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Don't know how the Swans kept this guy under wraps for the last few years, but yeah, he's been unreal for Sydney. And again, I think he will hold his job for the remainder of the season. I think he's been better than Melican, Hamling, those two in particular. I think the other ones are like Rampy and McCartan, but he just slots in with them. So yeah, he's been really good. And then Perez, as I said, didn't watch this game, but nothing to write home about with the 36. Dawson, 124. Again, thought he was quite good in this showdown. Wasn't as prolific as normal, so hence the scoring. But nothing to turn our nose up at 124. Zach Butters, 155. I don't know what. Typically, he would have got a Peatling tag, and I know that Peatling was on him at some stoppages, but for whatever reason, it wasn't a hard clamp down roll. So yeah, Butters went nuts, which was good. I didn't have him in my VCLC calculations because I thought he would get tagged, but at the end of the day, I had the Nick Dacos 154 against Richmond, so I kicked 3 snags. Didn't watch a minute of this game because I didn't need to hear him be called the champ 20 times a quarter. So, but yeah, Dacos 154 easy VC. We locked that in. The C was on Sheasel, so I did actually lose 21 points, but you can't predict. With some rucks, you can predict a 150 score, but then predicting them to score over 150 is really bold, and I just wasn't feeling it. So took the 154. George Hewitt 110 against West Coast, kicked 2 goals in the first quarter, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting a 160, but sort of faded out of the game a little bit. This was a weird game. It wasn't very high stoppage. West Coast were pretty uncompetitive for large points of the game, even though the margin wasn't a typical like West Coast blowout. So Oliver and Callahan, I heard, were moved out of the centre bounce at the end of the game, which is interesting to me because I know Brent Daniels got injured as well. So I don't know who was running around in there. But the reality is Clayton Oliver is a midfielder and nothing else. So he's going to end up in there. And I think Kingsley has done it a little bit where he just spins the magnets around when they're losing just to try and get a response. That meant Oliver went forward. I think he was okay playing forward, but obviously we take the 118. Finn Callahan, 103. This is a guy who could play more wing, but I think it is much better to develop him as an inside mid because I think he does have a fair amount to learn just at the contested craft and the outside craft. Needs to kick more, mainly. He's a big handballer, where I think he is a good kick and should do more damage by foot. Matt Rao, 116, was quite good against Freo in the clinches. As I've said, these games where he's playing against stronger contested sides, I think he should score better. Now, obviously, sometimes he's going to have a guy hanging off him, is what it is. But Rao, pretty good. Ison, didn't notice him much in this West Coast Carlton game, to be honest, but I also wasn't watching that game that closely. And then in the rucks, so Luke Jackson, 119. Got managed throughout this game. It looks like he is the R1 at Freo now, and Sean Darcy's just in there to chop him out, which makes sense to me. I think there's a very interesting discussion to be had at Fremantle about what they do in the rucks next season, because I think there's got to come a point in time where they just decide that Darcy's not really reliable enough. I think I've been a believer in the Freo double ruck system because I think Darcy can be a very effective tap ruckman. And Jackson's obviously dominant around the ground, but he also gives you different looks, different unique types of looks because he's so athletic and he's so good that I think that having Jackson and Darcy in the team where Darcy can function as a sort of almost independent ruckman added value to Fremantle. But given Darcy's unavailability, I think they're better off just cutting him loose and letting Jackson go as the man in the ruck for like 75% plus of games. So that's just sort of a side note. Also, I think the Suns are in trouble. Like, they're going backwards every week. And there's sort of rumors swirling around about a player exodus this year and next year. So it might be a tough tumble for the Suns, which I don't know. I'm pretty happy to see the Suns go well, to be honest. So I think that would be a shame. Darcy Cameron, 86. Would have wanted more against Richmond. I'm sort of getting what I paid for at this point. I'm getting a little bit ahead. Got paid about 410. There were probably better buys at 410 than this, but I didn't think he would be so poor. She's a 175. So this game was kind of weird where Setterfield went to LDU at quarter time after LDU was just dunking all over Essendon. And then they dropped it at halftime and Sheasel and LDU just continued to go nuts. But there was no time ever put into Sheasel, which is very strange because Sheasel really hurts you by foot if you let him. And this was one of those games, and North got the job done against Essendon, although probably a little bit too much of a close call for the North supporters. Horn Francis was really good against Adelaide. If this guy has a full preseason and he's playing like proper full-time mid, I think he's a top 8 mid. Like, I'm reasonably confident in that. He's just so good. Like, his ball use is so good, and it's not something you expect from a guy who's just like this sort of explosive meatball that just crashes through contests. But no, he's been terrific this year, and particularly the last 5 weeks. So yeah, he's been a fantastic trade-in. Petrarca is starting to get less and less CBAs, and he's starting to score less and less because the Suns are getting the ball forward less and less and scoring less and less. Yeah, this is a little bit of a disaster. So I'll talk about Touk Miller as well because Touk, his CBAs are going up, but he's getting less outside ball because Anderson is just like... I like Noah Anderson, by the way. This is not a criticism, but in the last few weeks, it seems like... And this is obviously a symptom of what's been going on at the Gold Coast, but all of Anderson's outside ball at the moment is just like cheap junk, which means that these like Petrarca and Miller types, then the Suns aren't progressing the ball forward, so there's not these forward half contests or these forward half handball receives or anything like that for Petrarca and Miller, and I do think that is hurting them. So Yeah, the Suns are a little bit of a frustrating watch at the moment. They don't really do anything right. They get a lot of stats, but they don't do much. So yeah, they've got some things to work out. And then Durham 128, been a terrific pickup. So we're going to keep going with that. This was also a bad matchup for Durham. So absolutely wrapped with him. So yeah, that's the team for last week. So yeah, as you see, pretty much all my players went well. Like I think Cameron. Oh no, I think it was Miller. So I had how many scores did I have? So I had 5, 7, 15, 21. So the scores that dropped out were 1, 2, and 3. So Miller was my lowest, which is pretty good. So most of my premiums fired. It's just a couple that really didn't in the end. And I didn't really miss any big scores outside of Luke Davies-Uniacke. So hence why the scoring was good this week. Also, Cherry injury, Grundy just didn't do any damage to non-owners. So yeah, that's why this week was a good week. And I am very concerned going forward because the team is not particularly strong given I have Hugo Hall-Kahan. I nearly said Max Hall-Kahan. That's a different player. Yeah, given I have Hugo Hall-Kahan at D6, whereas other people will have a much better option typically. I will say I do think the midfield is reasonably strong. I think like Callahan and Rao, you can sort of flip a coin. Obviously, I would rather have Heaney and Baz than both of them, although I still think that Heaney and Baz are a good chance of getting rested. It depends what happens with Sydney. I think if Sydney continue their slide, then it gets less likely that Heaney gets rested. But I think Bailey Smith will miss one of the last games of the season, which is purely speculation. But that's just my coping mechanism for not owning him. Like this Richmond game at GMHBA, like you can't tell me that Geelong's rolling out the full suite of players here. Like I think Holmes has a chance to get rested in that game as well. So yeah, how are we lining up for this week as far as the team goes? So as I said, we're looping Hall-Kahan and Edwards. So if Edwards scores well, Flynn Perez will go on. I'm not expecting Flynn Perez to play. If he does, then I'll just straight field Hall-Kahan against West Coast. And then captain, vice captain. So this week is a little bit tougher. So the VC has to go on Dawson against West Coast. It is that simple. And then I'm probably, so I typically start with looking at the rucks. I'll go through all of them. So I think if you got Grundy, you could go there. Although I would, if Laddams is picked, I wouldn't be touching that. That suggests that Grundy is going to have a little bit lower tog to me. But if Adams is not picked, then I think this is full steam ahead. So why might Laddams not be picked? Because Amadi is injured, which I think will mean McLean comes in, and McLean is more capable ruckman than Amadi, so they may not need to bring Laddams. So that's my thoughts there. So Jackson against Briggs, I think is a good matchup. I'm not convinced I want to go the straight C. I kind of don't mind Hewitt, I must be honest, but we'll talk about that later. And then the other one, so I don't like Gawn against this double ruck matchup. And then Tim English is the other one, but I probably wouldn't be going there against Sydney. So yeah, that leaves which other players. So as I said, I really like Dawson. Port Adelaide, I think will tag Butters. So I won't be going there. The Bont will get attention. Will that matter? I don't know. I don't really want to put the C on someone going into a tag. Nick Dacos is fascinating this week. It is the Suns up there. The Suns should be better at home. This is going to sound, I can't believe I'm about to say this. It's probably going to sound so dumb, but Nick Holman tagged Caleb Sarong a little bit on the weekend. It was a very, very bad tag. I will point that out. But if he does go to Nick Dacos, I don't think I really want a part of that in my VCLC, particularly given Nick's ball use has been pretty poor this year. So I'm going to avoid that. I think I'm going to go with Luke Jackson. He's the one that I really like. The other options you could consider are like Hewitt, Walsh, Cripps if you have them against Richmond. Nazaya against Essendon is a prime option for your VCSC. That is going to be my scariest fade this year, Nazaya. So hopefully he doesn't go super well because I don't have him. So yeah, that's how I'm going to line up the team this week. There is no trades to be made because I have no injuries and I want to hold these 4 trades. The considerations for me with the trades is, do I get to a point where I have Hall-Kahan and Edwards as being able to go one up, one down, essentially? I will consider that with 4 weeks to go. because I want to keep one trade for every 2 rounds. That has typically been the number of injury trades you want. I think that my competitive advantage is having 4 trades, where I think a lot of people only have like 2, 3, a lot only have 1 as well. And then obviously my competitive disadvantage is having Taluk, Edwards, and Hawker at D6. That being said, I think that Hawker can score reasonably well and not be too problematic. A couple of good matchups in West Coast and Gold Coast coming up as well. Collingwood, Essendon, Richmond, and GWS, also all good matchups. So I don't think that's going to be catastrophic. My main problem is going to be like Cameron and Tuke Miller, I think, where these guys are like bleeding points, to be honest. So that is what it is. I know what I've set up for. I had problems generating cash this year, mainly because of my poor trading early. You reap what you sow. I will be reaping what I sowed in terms of that. So anyway, let me know how you went below in the comments. Let me know if you're making any trades this week. I can't think of if there were any injuries. Yeah, I can't think if there are any injuries off the top of my head, but if you don't have Nazaya, like, I think he's the man that you're going to want for the rest of the year. I actually suspect he's going to be the highest scorer for the rest of the year. So if you need a guy, he's the one. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.